Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we know by now that World Athletics announced that they are incorporating genetic testing to protect the integrity of the female category. They completely banned male athletes from competing in the women's category. There's no longer any requirements that they have to meet in order to do so. They are just banned. We know that athletics in particular, or track and field, has had a history of male athletes competing in the women's category over different sports. The 800 meters in 2016 was particularly hit with this issue, where they had an all-male podium, whether it's male athletes with DSD or men who identify as women. This has been going on for decades. Unfortunately, the IOC got rid of genetic testing in the 90s, and ever since then, they've said that up to 900 medals in the women's category have gone to male athletes. So this is a huge issue that needs to be addressed. It's not just addressed with policy, where on paper, male athletes are banned. There has to be something put in place to ensure that everybody entering into the female category qualifies by way of actually being female, with XX chromosomes. And now thankfully, World Athletics are actively implementing genetic testing, and they have announced the sort of testing they're going to use. And is it what the Democrats fear-mongered it would be? Saying that women are going to be subjected to genital inspections, be made to strip down before entering into the bathroom. Yes, these are the sort of claims that have been made.
These bans impact all athletes in the women's category because in order to exclude transgender women, you need to know which women are transgender. And this demands policing the entire women's category. At what point is a woman too fast, too strong, too good at her sport to then be accused of being transgender, accused of not being woman enough? This hurts all women, and especially those already deemed not woman enough by some system of oppression. Black women, brown women, trans women, intersex women, the list goes on.
So the latest from the Dems, including AOC and Pramila Jayapal, is that if we require women's sports be for XX only, and that's codified into law, it will lead to
genital examinations into little girls in this country.
Genital checks. It will target more masculine-looking girls because they might be boys.
If your daughter does not look feminine enough, does that mean she's subject to examination now?
This is clearly fear-mongering. No one wants coaches examining athletes' genitals. Second, it's clearly the latest talking point handed down from up high because they're all using it.
Inspections of genitalia.
It is a lie. The answer is actually quite simple. For any kid competing in school sports, a doctor's health check is required. A basic physical is completed, and certainly sex would be noted, or just ask for the birth certificate. Or in higher level competitions where they already do drug testing for steroids and other performance enhancing drugs, a cheek swab, not at all invasive. Gender non-conforming girls will not be targeted. We are not the ones who are requiring gender conformity. We love tomboys. We don't think tomboys are boys. It's you, AOC, the left, and the gender ideologue.
Well, thankfully, as anyone with common sense is aware, it's actually very easy to prove that you are female. If you're a woman, it's actually very easy to prove that. And with all the tests that athletes have to go through anyway, a cheek swab really isn't that big of a deal. And that's what they're going to use, a simple cheek swab. Many of us have been saying this repeatedly, that every sporting body, not just at the Olympics, not just at the World Championships, but also in schools, NCAA, in college sports, a simple cheek swab needs to be incorporated in order to qualify to compete in the women's category across the board. That is the only way.
If it looks like I'm reading, I am. I don't want to get anything wrong. I can see the left truly flipping out about this. World Athletics will be requiring chromosome testing by cheek swab to determine if you have a Y chromosome. This is a once-in-a-lifetime test. It must be completed if you plan to compete in elite-level women's sports. Genetic testing will be required to compete in high-level events. Another win for the Trump administration and American citizens. Another win for females. This honestly just goes back to common sense, folks. Remember when the president talked about getting back to common sense? we're getting there. I absolutely cannot wait to see the comment section of this video. Now y'all go wild out.
So thankfully, World Athletics is leading the way in this common sense approach to protecting the women's category. So this is great news. So it has been confirmed this is going to be their method of screening athletes. World Athletics, the international governing body for track and field, is officially implementing testing for female athletes. So males cannot compete in women's sports. The test, which consists of a once-in-a-lifetime cheek swab or blood test, will conclusively determine whether a person is male or female, and only females can compete in women's events. Now, is that not music to your ears to hear that? This is a very simple, common sense approach, the right thing to do, and something that should have been done a long time ago. Do you understand the travesty it is to have an all-male podium? That should have been the wake-up call. These women have really been through it. These female athletes who work so hard have really been through it when they've been made to compete against male athletes, masquerading as females, not even acknowledging that they're men who identify as women, but actually being accepted as females. They have infiltrated into women's sports, and it's still going on today. World Athletics is well aware that these genetic tests are non-negotiable. They are needed. It's not an overreach. We saw what happened just last year at the Paris Olympics. So all the sporting bodies need to incorporate this. I'm so glad that SEBCO has said enough is enough of this and is incorporating this once and for all. All the other sporting bodies need to follow World Athletics' example. The IOC needs to implement it so that all the sporting bodies have to fall under that umbrella and follow suit. And they've said that they want to protect the female category. Well, they need to put their money where their mouth is. With all the screening that these athletes have to do anyway, a simple cheek swab really isn't an inconvenience in any significant way. So yes, back in March, President Sebastian Coe announced plans to start implementing the new policy. On Wednesday, the organization officially announced that the policy and testing will begin September 1, just under 2 weeks from the start of the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. Makes sense. All athletes wishing to compete in the female category at the World Championships are required to undergo a once-in-a-lifetime test for the SRY gene, a reliable proxy for determining biological sex. This is to be conducted via a cheek swab or blood test, whichever is more convenient. World Athletics wrote in a press release, "The philosophy that we hold dear in World Athletics is the protection and the promotion of the integrity of women's sport. It is really important in a sport that is permanently trying to attract more women that they enter a sport believing there is no biological glass ceiling. The test to confirm biological sex is a very important step in ensuring this is the case," Coe said. "We are saying, at elite level, for you to compete in the female category, you have to be biologically female. It was always very clear to me and the World Athletics Council that gender cannot trump biology." Thank you. Gender identity, I would say, because I believe gender and sex are the same thing, but whatever. Gender identity should never trump biology or whatever you were classed as when you were born. If that doesn't align with your biological sex, if you are actually male, you are male and should not be competing in the women's category. Doesn't matter what passport you have, what birth certificate you have, what the doctors said when you were born. If you have XY chromosomes, you are not eligible to compete in the women's category. So we had the fear-mongering by the Democrats with the genital inspections. Clearly, this is a non-invasive test, a very quick once-in-a-lifetime test. Because if you've shown you have XX chromosomes, you don't have to prove that every year. And it doesn't involve genital exams. It doesn't involve anybody stripping down and showing what they have or don't have. None of that is necessary. And if anybody has a problem with a simple cheek swab, I don't think they're cut out for world-class athletics. I really don't. So we know that the US Olympics and Paralympics Committee have said that they are going to ban male athletes from competing in the women's category, regardless of their gender identity, regardless of whether they have DSD or their passport says female or their birth certificate says female. However, they have not said how they're going to incorporate this policy to safeguard it. Because the policy can say one thing, but what happens when somebody shows up with a birth certificate that says they are female? Because as it stands in our colleges, for example, in our schools, that's all that's needed, a birth certificate. And the person is taken to be female. We've seen with US Masters swimming, a male athlete has shown up with identification saying, he's female. And this male athlete has been competing and winning championships and, various events in the women's category for the longest time. Hopefully, American institutions will take note of World Athletics procedures and follow suit. It's the only way to truly protect female athletes from males invading their sports. It absolutely is the only way. Don't let anybody tell you that it's unnecessary. We've seen ample evidence that it is more than necessary. So great news from World Athletics. We've been saying this over and over again, and they're actually putting this into practice now. Keep in mind, this is only necessary because men were competing in the women's competition. That's the only reason. Didn't we used to have this kind of testing? It's got to be easier now, less invasive than COVID tests. Imagine if males just rejected the female categories. How easy life could be. A girl can dream. So when it comes to sports, when it comes to the US Olympics, we can be rest assured that the women's category is going to be protected. We're not going to see the same spectacle that we saw in the Paris Olympics just last year. And that is definitely something to celebrate. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.